Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be talking about arithmetic sequences. So arithmetic sequences are essentially just sequences that increase by a certain number each and every single time. So a sequence is just a chain of numbers. So as we have over here, 2, 4, 6, 8. So this is just a chain of numbers and it's arithmetic because each and every single term increases by 2. So to get from 2 to 4, you have to add 2. To get from 4 to 6, you have to add 2. To get from 6 to 8, you have to add 2. So it's increasing by that same number each and every single time. So that means it's an arithmetic sequence. And this sequence goes on and on forever because I have ... at the end. So it'll become 10, 12, 14, 16, and so on. When we're handling arithmetic sequences, we're going to want to know certain terms. So let's say I want to know the fifth term of this sequence. In this sequence, what's important to know is that number 2 is the first term. Number 4 is the second term. Number 6 is the third, and number 8 is the fourth term. Even though the fourth term is equal to 8, we say it's the fourth term because it's the fourth number in that certain chain of sequences. Now, what's our fifth term? Well, obviously we know that if we add 2, our fifth term is just going to be 10. But what if we want to know our 11th term? That's going to be quite manual. You'll need to add on the numbers over and over again to be able to get to the 11th term. And that's just very repetitive and tedious. So what we're going to do is work with the formula, which I've written over here. So this is our formula. A of n is just sort of your indicator at the end. So n is whatever term you want to find. So if you want to find the 7th term, n would be 7, and a would just be on its own. This is the actual meat of the formula. So a of 1 is your first term. In this case, 2 is our first term because it's the first term that comes in our chain of numbers. D is your difference. So the difference between two terms. In this case, it's positive 2 because we're adding 2 onto each number. Next, n is going to be your nth term, as I said over here. N is going to be whatever term you want to find, and negative 1 just stays the same. So let's substitute numbers into this formula for this equation up here. So a of n, we want to find maybe the 12th term, so we'll do a of 12. Now a of 1 is 2, so we know the first term is 2. Plus, we know the difference is equal to positive 2 as well. So 2 times n minus 1. And n is just going to be equal to 12. So 12 minus 1. Why is n equal to 12? Because that's the term we want to find. So then it's going to be 2 plus 2 times 11, because 12 minus 1 is 11. So then it's 2 plus 22, which is just equal to 24. That means the number 24 is our 12th term in the sequence. So that's kind of just how it is. We can add on to 10 and then add on to 12 and add on to 14 and eventually get to 24. But a lot of the times this is a lot more tedious, and using a formula like this just makes life so much easier. So let's work on a couple more examples. So let's look at our first question over here. We have a chain of numbers, -5, -7, -9, -11, and it goes so on and so forth. Now, it's a sequence because it's a chain of numbers, and it's arithmetic because if you can tell, we have a common difference. Why? Because if you add -2 to -5, you get -7. You add -2 to -7, you get -9. Again, the same goes here, -2. So as you can see, we're adding on the same number each and every single time, showing that it's an arithmetic sequence. So let's say that we want to find the 13th term of this sequence. We want to find the 13th term. How do we find it? Let's use our formula. I've written the formula up here for reference, and we're just going to substitute numbers. So we know we want to find the 13th term. So it's a of 13. What's the first term in this sequence? -5. What's our difference? Our difference is -2. Make sure you note that it's negative because you're increasing by a negative number. So make sure you take note of whether the difference is negative or positive. N in this case is 13 because that's the number we want, that's the term we want to find, and -1. So when you simplify that, you get -5 plus -2 times 12 because 13 minus 1 is 12. So you get -5 plus -24 because 12 times -2 is -24, and this will just result in -29. So that means that the 13th term is going to be -29 if we keep on going. So that's going to be it for this example. Let's work on another one. Okay, so in this case, we have another sequence. We have certain numbers, 1, 5, 9, 13, and 17, and they continue on and indefinitely. Let's see if they have a common difference. 1 plus what is equal to 5? 4. 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. 9 plus 4 is equal to 13, and 13 plus 4 is equal to 17. So as you can see, we do have the same difference for each and every single term, and we're adding on the same number for each and every single term in this sequence. So that means it is arithmetic. Now, in this case, we don't want to find a certain term, like the 13th or 15th term. We just want to know how to find the nth term of the sequence. Now, that might seem a bit confusing, but it's actually way simpler than the previous question. Finding the nth term is essentially just writing a formula where you can substitute any number to find that term. So if we want to find the 5th term, we would just have a formula where we substitute 5 and simplify to get the 5th term. And how you do that is just use the same equation as I talked about before, except you don't substitute anything for n. You just leave it on its own so that whoever wants to use it can then substitute n. So let's do this so you guys know what I'm talking about. We're writing a formula for the nth term, so we're going to leave it as a of n because we want to find the nth term. What's our first term in this case? 1, because that's the first number in our sequence. What's the difference? 4, because we are adding 4 to each and every single number. Now we're going to leave the n as it is and just simplify this equation. So a of n is equal to 1 plus 4n minus 4. So I just expanded the 4 and multiplied it to the n and negative 1. If we simplify this, we get 4n minus 3 because 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So if you can't tell, this is our final equation for the nth term. The only difference we're doing is not substituting anything for this n and leaving it on its own. So anyone in the future, if you have another question, you can just use this formula to find the nth term. Now we can gladly find the nth term. We can substitute and find the 18th term if we want. So it would just be a of 18 equals 4 times you would just substitute it for n minus 3. And once you simplify that, you will find the 18th term. So this is sort of just a way for you to be like, this is the formula to find the nth term for any equation. And you can use it if they ask you in multiple steps to sort of just find certain terms of the equation. I hope you all found this video useful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment them down below.